Looking at the successes and failures of current results-based schemes, it's possible to identify key factors of successful design. At the start, before designing anything, the first question should be, what are the biodiversity objectives and how are they affected by farming? The second question should be, is it possible to devise reliable indicators to which the results and associated payments can be linked? If the answer to both these questions is yes, then a results-based approach is worth exploring with farmers and biodiversity experts.
So initially our approach was an action-based approach, so we asked the farmer what work needed to take place in his or her farm, and we got some really good practical suggestions like installing gates like this beautiful burn gate or repairing the wall, and that allowed the farmer to target management a lot better. But we found that it was a little bit limited in the sense that we weren't offering the farmer an incentive to change his or her day-to-day management of the land, the grazing and the feeding and so on and so forth. So we gradually introduced then a kind of a hybrid approach where we paid for results. So we said to the farmer, here's what we want, this is the optimal output we want environmentally, biodiverse grasslands, well-managed water supplies and so on. So you are free to manage your land in such a way, we can give you some advice, but you're free to manage your land in such a way as will achieve those environmental outputs. If you fail to achieve them and you don't even try, you're going to score very low and get very little. If you work very hard towards the environmental output and achieve a high standard, we'll pay you accordingly. And we found that this results-based approach worked very, very well because it gave the farmers a target for improving their environmental performance, their grazing system, their feeding system, which they otherwise didn't have. It also allowed them to think more carefully about what actions they should undertake on their farm, because they figured then by improving my water supply, I can increase my score, my environmental performance. So the two measures, the output or the results-based measure, complemented very well the action-based approach. We find that it's the perfect solution. It's very simple. It gives the farmer the flexibility to decide what needs to be done and whether or not he or she is going to do it in that particular year, and rewards them accordingly.
Für den Erfolg der ergebnisorientierten Programme brauche ich die richtigen Indikatoren. Dabei müssen zum einen alle Naturräume eines Landes gut berücksichtigt werden und zum anderen muss es so praktisch und einfach wie möglich gestaltet werden. Dabei können dann Erfahrungshintergrund aus den entsprechenden Regionen gut helfen.
Bei der Erstellung der Kennartenbroschüre war es für uns die Herausforderung, spezielle Indikatoren für die unterschiedlichen Naturräume in Rheinland-Pfalz von den Tieflagen bis zu den Mittelgebirgen zu finden. Gleichzeitig sollten es leicht zu bestimmende Arten sein.
Tidigare bestämdes stöden uppifrån, men det skapade då konflikter mellan renägare och övriga. Nu är vi på väg in i ett system där renägarna då blir mer delaktiga. Det svåraste av allt det har varit att försöka förstå varandra. Det viktigaste nu det är att fokusera på att lära av varandra och kunna kommunicera på ett bra sätt så att man kommer framåt.
Sometimes results-based schemes can be stand-alone, but often they are introduced as an additional, more ambitious layer of an existing management-based scheme.
Sur le territoire du parc naturel régional des Vosges du Nord, on a mis en place la mesure prairies fleuries dans l'objectif de maintenir la richesse floristique des prairies permanentes. Par rapport à l'ancien programme que l'on a mené donc en 2008 et 2009, où on avait une mesure zéro fertilisation, ce qui nous a poussé à mettre la prairie fleurie, c'est que cette mesure zéro fertilisation était mise sur des prairies qui n'avaient pas forcément un intérêt écologique, ou par ailleurs sur d'autres prairies où il y avait un intérêt écologique qui existait, où la fertilisation n'influençait pas une grande différence écologique de la prairie, à savoir que jusqu'à 30 unités, c'était toujours une aussi belle prairie, mais par contre du point de vue de l'agriculteur, il y avait une forte pénalité au niveau de la valeur fourragère et du coup il n'était pas prêt dans une seconde programmation à se réengager avec l'absence de fertilisation. Grâce à ce nouveau programme, avec la mesure prairie fleurie, on a pu engager beaucoup plus de surface qu'avant par rapport à l'obligation de moyens qu'on avait qui était zéro fertilisation.
Often, results-based schemes are a new step for both farmers and managing authorities alike. So a short pilot programme can be a good way of testing how a scheme might work in practice, both from the point of view of farmers and administrations.
So the costs of what we do and what we pay the farmers is based on the two measures. So the first measure, which is the action-based, we developed unit costs as part of a 5-year EU Life-funded research programme. So a unit cost for remove of scrub and repair of walls and so on and so forth. For pay for performance measure, We develop costs based on the cost of managing the land. So there's a lot of labour required here, herding cattle, looking after the animals during the year, but also actually having animals here at all is a cost to the farmer because they basically lose on every animal they keep here. So using factors like this, we developed a cost per hectare.
Managing authorities and paying agencies will need to consider how best to develop the biodiversity skills and capacity needed to design and implement a scheme, to provide support to farmers, for example, in terms of guidance and training, as well as how to monitor and evaluate the scheme.
Ich kann Ihnen sagen, bei der Entwicklung der Programme gab es keine Probleme. Allerdings muss man auch feststellen, dass es zur Umsetzung der Programme der Fachexpertise unserer Fachleute bedarf.
So our verification system is based on a very simple scoring system. It's a one-page sheet. It shows a few indicators like the grazing level, the litter level, the feed site condition, the water source condition, the bare soil and erosion level, the level of encroaching scrub and various weed species. So this is a very simple user-friendly system. So the farmer himself or herself can actually score their own field in terms of its habitat health. In our system, the farmer employs a trained advisor who will come out every year and conduct this assessment on a field-by-field basis across the farm on all eligible fields. The scores which arise from this system then are sent to our office, and our team validate those scores every year. So we look out for any aberrations in scoring, if there's a big jump year on year, or we also look closely at some of the larger fields which have a larger payment attaching to them. So we basically oversee and verify the scoring system at our level. And then the funders, the Department of Agriculture, they do an audit of 10% of all farms in the programme every year. So that's also part of the verification system. So in effect we have a four-tier verification system, all the way from the farmer on the ground to the Department of Agriculture who fund the programme.
Weidevogelbeheer, dat kun je niet doen op het niveau van één bedrijf. Daar wordt het weidevogelbeheer in Nederland gepland in een hele polder, in een hele regio. Er wordt voor elke polder, voor elke regio wordt een plan gemaakt. En er wordt aan de boeren gevraagd of ze daaraan mee willen doen volgens het plan. En om dat goed te doen moet je dus ook goed weten hoe het met de vogels gaat. Je moet niet alleen weten wat de boeren van plan zijn en met hun bedrijfsvoering. Maar je wil heel goed volgen hoe de vogels reageren op die bedrijfsvoering om daar aanpassingen in te doen. En om dat elk jaar weer op de goede manier te doen is het heel belangrijk dat je die monitoring doet. En die monitoring hangt weer nauw samen met die resultaatbeloning waar die monitoring ook weer voor gebruikt wordt. Dus zo, op die manier snijdt het mes aan twee kanten.
Some of the key factors for designing a successful results-based scheme are things like setting clear environmental objectives that farmers can buy into, choosing appropriate indicators that reflect the ultimate outcomes, engaging farmers and key stakeholders in scheme design and development, developing control and verification systems that meet EU requirements, developing simple monitoring systems, providing high levels of facilitation, advice and support to farmers, and encouraging innovation, self-help and mutual learning. Further good practice guidance on the effective design of results-based schemes is available in a handbook on the European Commission's website.